Hey, good morning. You're in tune to the Talk of the Town, AM 1490 KORN. I'm Clayton Mick, and a lot of us feel like we have battles every day, especially when it comes to controlling our weight. And we've got a guest this morning who's going to help us kind of get ourselves back on track and to live in a better life. Roslyn Franken is my guest. She's the author of the A-List, 9 Guiding Principles for Healthy Eating and Positive Living. And good morning, Roslyn. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Clay. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right. And a great book, by the way, and I think it'll help a lot of us out to get on the right track here, as I mentioned. You talk a little bit about adversity in your book. Tell me just a little bit about what experiences you've had with that.
Well, I'll tell you, a lot of the principles that I share in the book came out of one of probably the worst circumstances I've ever had to face, which was when I was 29 years old and being told by the doctor 3 of the scariest words you could ever hear when he said, "You have cancer." It's a little bit young to have cancer, don't you think?
Yes, that is, and it's scary anytime.
It really is, and I learned a lot about life and about myself going through that experience, and then 10 years later had to face another adversity when I got on the scale one day at age 39 and looked at the scale and thought, oh, my goodness, I'm at my heaviest weight. How much more weight do I need to gain before I do something about this? Okay. What's it going to take to kick me into action? And that was another turning point in my life, and so many adversities in between. I mean, I could write a whole other book just on all of those.
Right. Well, how much does attitude have to do with improving our health and well-being?
Attitude has everything to do with it. And, in my book I talk about 9 principles, and it's called the A-List because they all start with the letter A. And one of the biggest chapters, one of the biggest principles is about A for attitude. Because the attitudes that we have, how you think about things, how you process things, how you react to things that are going on in your life, stems from your attitudes. And those attitudes that you have are either going to support you in your goals and getting what you want out of life, or they're going to sabotage you. And the worst part of it, Clay, is that most of us don't even realize the attitudes that we have that are creating our own, what I call, self-inflicted stress that keeps us away from having the health and happiness we so want.
And you talk a little bit about in here the different kinds of things, perfectionists, people pleasers, and all or nothing attitude, and all of those. There's all kinds of different things that kind of affect us.
Oh, absolutely. And again, we don't realize what we're doing with them. Like the example you gave, all or nothing. When it comes to eating habits, so many of us, when we try to take control of our eating and maybe we want to lose weight, we take this all or nothing attitude, that strict diet mentality. I'm going to be good all day, or I'm not going to have sugar, or I'm going to cut this out of my diet or that. And I have a great Can I share a really good example with you of the all or nothing?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I had this client, this lady, who was calling me up, and she was just berating herself, filled with guilt and shame for having this one chocolate chip cookie. And she was so upset with herself. How could I be eating chocolate chip cookies when, here I am working with you, and I'm reading your book, and I'm getting your coaching, and I'm supposed to be working at this? Like, why am I doing this? And I said to her, I asked her a very simple question. I said, how many chocolate chip cookies would you normally have eaten? And she said, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 or the whole bag. Actually, she had 3, not 1. I'm sorry, she had 3. And so I said, how many would you normally have eaten? She said, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 or the whole bag. And I said to her, you only had 3. That's amazing. That's a huge success. You did great. And she said, well, no, because I shouldn't have had any. And I said, who said you shouldn't have had any? Are you never going to have a chocolate chip cookie again for the rest of your life? And she said, well, no, but at least not as long as I'm on this diet and I'm trying to lose weight. And I said, how does that make sense? Because once you lose the weight, if you start going back to eating all your chocolate chip cookies again, you're just going to put the weight back. That's what happened last time and the time before. And she just couldn't believe it. And that week she ended up losing weight. And she said, how could I have lost weight? I had 3 chocolate chip cookies. You know?
Yeah.
So it's not about all or nothing. It is really about moderation and making smart choices.
No, yeah, well, exactly. You know, you don't have to give up everything. It's just, like you said, maybe a little bit of self-discipline when it comes to things, right?
It is about self-discipline, and a lot of people, they hear that word and they go, oh, I have no discipline, I have no willpower. And trust me, I get that, because when I was at my heaviest weight, it was very hard for me to believe that I could actually do this. But by taking a much kinder and gentler approach, and that's what I teach other people how to do. How do you be kind to yourself? And that's where people falter. And by taking that approach and allowing the weight to come off and working on the underlying reasons why I had this unhealthy relationship with food and my body, that's what made the biggest difference. It's not just about the food you feed your body. It's about the thoughts that you feed your mind and the emotions that you feed your soul. It's all those things combined that ends up why that number goes up on the scale and your pants get tighter.
And absolutely. My guest again this morning is Roslyn Franken. We're talking about her book, The A-List, 9 Guiding Principles for Healthy Eating and Positive Living. At the end of the program, I'll give you a chance to win a copy of the book. We're going to give away a couple of copies here. But right now, we're talking about some of the things that kind of sabotage us a little bit. You know, you talked a little bit about the all or nothing attitude. And when you talked about the woman with the, you know, being so hard on herself for eating those cookies, is there a little bit of almost perfectionism, too, to some of the things that sabotage ourselves? Is that right?
Oh, absolutely. The perfectionism, that fear of failure, that trying to be perfect at everything you do. People are so burdened by this attitude of perfectionism, and especially women. You know, we're trying to be perfect at everything, being the perfect mother, the perfect wife, the perfect employee, the perfect everything, and the stress that we put ourselves under. Because, you know what, I hate to break it to the listeners who are listening who resonate with this, but you know what, you're human. It's not possible to be perfect all the time at everything you do. And letting go of that perfectionism right there is going to take a weight off of you like you wouldn't believe. It's so huge. It's just not possible to be perfect.
And yeah, sometimes it's a hard lesson to learn in our lives that we are not perfect. As you know, as we see, I know I'm guilty of perfectionism at times, trying to be too perfect. But in your book, what I like about your book too is that as you're going through, you ask people to write examples in the book, and you know, and kind of writing this stuff out a little bit is very helpful, isn't it?
It is very helpful. You know, people go through my book differently. Some people go through it and they'll skip over the questions and just want to get through the book. And it's the people who really take the time to answer those questions and take that time to do that self-reflection piece. I can't tell you how many times I get calls or emails of people telling me about their aha moments. Like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I was doing that. And it's amazing that when you answer the questions, when you go through that and you think about what you're doing, then you have an opportunity to actually change it, because you can't change things if you don't know what it is, right? If you don't know what you don't know, how can you know how to change it?
Absolutely, yeah. Roslyn, just what are 3 things? Let's just throw some things out. What are 3 things that will stop your weight loss in its tracks right now? Just some tips.
Okay, and stopping the weight loss, I'm talking about the lasting weight loss, not the quick weight loss, but to have weight loss that really sticks. The 3 things is, number 1, don't go hungry. Don't think that you have to starve yourself. I encourage people to watch their portion sizes, but it doesn't mean you have to go hungry. It just means eat a little bit less of the stuff that you know is causing you a lot of the trouble, but eat more of the lower calorie stuff. But what a lot of people do is they go hungry, they think they have to starve, and they don't eat enough calories, and that just totally messes up their metabolism and makes it harder as they get older every time they try to lose weight. The second one is depriving yourself of your favorite foods, just like the example I gave of the chocolate chip cookies, right? There's this sense, I hear it from my clients all the time, is this sense like I feel like I have to suffer in order to lose weight. And no, you don't have to suffer. Like, what if you could lose the weight but still be able to eat your favorite foods? Maybe not exactly in the same way you're eating them now, but you can learn how to incorporate them into an overall healthy diet. And the last one is stop going for the quick fix. This is what people do. People are, we're so busy these days, we don't have time for the best of things, that we often try to find the quickest and easiest way to lose weight. And that is a real problem. Because I used to do the same thing until I realized, wait a second, this doesn't make sense. If I do it right, if I do it in a kind and gentle way and a sustainable and sensible way, it might take me a bit longer in the short term, but in the longer term, it's actually faster and easier than trying to do it fast and easy, lose the weight, gain it back, lose the weight, gain it back. That is way too hard, way too hard. You think it's easy, it sounds easy, but think of how hard and how depressing it is when you put all the weight back on. Why not do it right and just do it once and for all?
Okay, well, good advice there. What about, we always come upon holiday events or maybe special events, and how do we deal with that, when they put out all those goodies in front of you? How do you deal with those?
It's making sound, sensible choices. It's not about depriving yourself. Have a bit of chocolate. Have a little bit. But you know that there's got to be some negotiating. If you're going to have the extra chocolate, maybe you need to go for the extra walk, or you need to cut back on the extra buns and alcohol and other things that you're having with your dinner, with your special dinner. Don't have as much dessert if you want to have that little bit of chocolate. So there's always this give and take that you have to have going on, because that's what life's all about sometimes, don't you think? You got to give and take.
Absolutely. It's a lot of give and take for sure. Again, my guest is Roslyn Franken. She's the author of The A-List, the 9 Guiding Principles for Healthy Eating and Positive Living. And dealing on other subjects, Roslyn, we talked a little bit about how you faced adversity in your life earlier. What about the rest of us? What should we do? What's one of the first things we should do when we find out, for instance, that maybe we had cancer, or if we lost a job, or maybe going through a divorce? And I've been through cancer, I've been through divorce, I've been through losing my job, I've been downsized 3 times from different jobs, and that financial stress is one of the bigger ones that people are facing these days. Mm-hmm. So if you lose your health, you lose your job, whatever it might be, it's how do you stay grounded? How do you build that confidence to know that you're going to get through this? Because if people look through their life and they look at other things they have come through, it's amazing the power that you have inside you. But when you get hit with that event, right? Sometimes you feel like the rug has been pulled out from underneath you, and you have to stop and you have to gain perspective, a positive perspective, because it's so easy to get sucked into that victim mentality. And that's what I went through with my cancer, right? It was like it would have been so easy to let the fear and the stress and the anxiety and the worry to rob me of the positive energy that I needed to basically fight my fight and beat my cancer. And I said, you know what, I can't, because those negative emotions, which are a natural response when you're facing adversity, what does it do? It lowers your immune system. It makes you more vulnerable to disease and other problems. Mm-hmm. And what I say that on top of what you already have going on, the last thing you need is to lose your health. Absolutely. So it's really recognizing that you have the power. We all have the power to choose every thought we have, every belief we hold, and every action we take. So the decisions that you make are your own, and you're the only one who can make them for you. So it's really accepting what it is, what is happening to you, and really working at how do you keep your hope, the hopefulness, and the enthusiasm alive for whatever it is you're going to deal with, and believing in yourself that you will get through it. And I also say that one of the biggest gifts you can give to yourself in a time like that is the gift of reaching out for help. If you're not coping well, if you need help,
if you're in denial, a lot of times people go in denial. They don't want to admit that what they're going through is actually real. Get the help you need. And that's what I love helping people with also, is to help them believe and know that they can get through it.
All right. Well, Roslyn, it's great advice you have for us here, and your book is absolutely wonderful. How do we find out more about it?
Well, the best way to get the book is through my website at thealistbook.com. That's THE, alistbook.com. Okay. Or by calling toll-free 877-852-5852. It is available through Amazon and online retailer 5852.
Well, super, Roslyn. I'll share that information with my Facebook followers, and so they can get to your link and the phone number from there as well. Roslyn, do you have any final thoughts for us?
You know, I just want to let people know that when you're faced with adversity, when you need that emotional resilience to deal with whatever it is, and if you're coping, whether it's with food and you're finding yourself overweight, or maybe you're turned to cigarettes or alcohol or whatever unhealthy crutch that you think is going to help you get through, there are healthy ways that are not as difficult as you might think. And you can change. You can make change happen in your life, and I can help you do that.
Well, absolutely. Thank you so much for being a guest on the program this morning, Roslyn. It's been a real pleasure visiting with you, and continued success with your book and in your other endeavors.
Thank you so much.
All right.